Hey, what's up guys? This is Mike Diebler with OCR Underground. I want to put together a short little video, especially for any of you that have had cramp issues during a race. So maybe you had a calf cramp, or your calves are just getting extra fatigued, they're burning, you find out that the next day they're just super sore. It's obviously pretty common. You're going to see lots of people, especially climbing up hills, where their calves just kind of give up, they cramp up, and they prevent you from continuing, even where you have to maybe walk the rest of the race or maybe not even finish. So there's obviously lots of reasons why you might cramp up, and we're not going to get into all of them. Obviously, nutrition, hydration, all of those things are going to be important, but there's two reasons often that we're going to cramp up. One, you're doing something that your muscle's just not quite sure, or that hasn't quite been there before. So you're in a range of motion maybe, or doing something just out of your normal range, and your body is basically going to get you to stop doing it because it's not sure what to do. So it'll actually get you to cramp up there. And on a similar note, if you're just doing too much, right? So you're using your calves nonstop, your brain is eventually going to say enough's enough. We don't want you to hurt yourself. We don't want that muscle to pull. So it's going to respond by making you cramp and preventing you from continuing to do what you do. So it's kind of like a self-defense mechanism. And that's kind of what I want to focus on, where if you are having calf issues, you're probably asking a little bit too much from your calves, and there's lots of different reasons for that. And we're going to talk about some of them, but there's definitely things you can work on to get rid of that, so you don't have those cramping or just fatigue in your calves. And like I mentioned, I particularly want to talk about going uphill, because that's when you're going to see some issues. So I have a little setup here. Hopefully you can see everything, but number one is, if you don't have adequate ankle mobility, and I've talked a lot about ankle mobility in the past, and I'll put a link with this video where you can see some other things to talk about ankle mobility. But if we just kind of use our slant board here as an example, so imagine this is me going uphill. I need adequate ankle mobility for my knee to move forward so I can properly climb up and use my hips to get me up that hill, right? I'm not saying your calves aren't going to work at all, but a lot of people, when they don't have that good ankle mobility, they can't dorsiflex, meaning they can't move that knee forward enough. So now the heel is going to come off the ground to make up for it, and they're going to push up that way using a lot of quad and a ton of calf. And now we're going to get some burning in the quads, burning in the calves, and eventually cramping up. So one is, just make sure you're working on your ankle range of motion. Slant boards are great, working on just getting some active stretches to try and improve mobility, or just some typical calf stretches, anything to improve that mobility there, hitting the foam roller, all of that's going to be good stuff. But what I want to talk about is, now yes, you can go out and hit some hills and just practice that, pushing through your heel and using the quads and glutes a little bit more versus the calves, but you can also use a step. And a step up is a great way to train for the hills, especially if you can't get out and constantly do hill training. You can work on your technique and mechanics in the gym using a step up, all right? And I just want to talk about some simple things that you can do to make sure that we're not just using the calves, and you're getting your glutes stronger, you're getting your quads stronger, so they'll get you up that hill as fast as you need to while saving your calves so you can finish the race. So I have a 20-inch box here. Now, how high your step is going to depend on you. Obviously, the higher the box, the harder it's going to be, but there's a point where you shouldn't be stepping up that high. So here's a real simple test that you can do. If you just stand up nice and tall, lift up your foot as high as you can without losing your posture or without creating any compensations. How high can your foot get? So if I can get over that step, then I know this height's appropriate for me, right? But if I were to flip this up here, right? So now I can't get that high. And if I try and do a step up on here, I'm going to have to do some weird things with my body to get up onto that step. All right, the whole point of this is for working on technique, making sure you maintain your posture so we don't get hurt and we don't develop any bad habits. So pick a height that's a challenge, but you know you can physically actually step up on it and not have to jump using your back leg. All right, so that's picking how high you want to go. So once we have a good height, what I want you to think about is, number one, this leg is really doing nothing. We're focusing on this front leg to drive us up the hill to get to the next step. A big mistake people are going to make is they're going to bend this back knee and jump up. And then go back down, jump up. Now that's all calf. calf and quad again that they're using to get up there. What I want you to focus on is this leg here. This leg is going to stay totally straight so you don't to make it less likely that you're going to cheat and compensate. So keep this leg totally straight. Second thing I want you to do is work on leaning forward, right? The more we lean forward, we're going through more hip flexion, which means we're putting extra stress or extra stretch onto the glute muscle, right? So I'll do it this way. So if I'm up right here, it's going to be hard for me to get up without pushing off that back leg. So I'm going to lean forward just like I would if I was climbing a hill. I load this glute. Here, the knee is going to move forward. I'm going to get some good dorsiflexion here. And now what you're going to do is drive up through that heel and get up on the step. Drive up, and then slowly lower back down again. Drive up, lower back down. That back leg is not contributing at all. It's all going to be from that front leg there. A good cue that might help you out, don't think about stepping up, right? I'm not stepping up on the box because that leads to that jumping movement. Instead, I want you to crush the step. I want you to push your foot down into that step so hard that you're going to completely flatten it. And when you do that, you just pop up. You're going to get a lot more activation from the muscles that we're trying to incorporate, one being the glute. This is way bigger than this muscle here, so use this to power you up through that hill. It's also a good idea. Get the arms working with you too, just like you are running. So we're going to go opposite arm, opposite leg. So I get that lean forward, push up, control it back down. Lean forward, drive the heel down, full hip extension, and then back down there. All right, I know a lot of you have probably seen step-ups before, but really focus on how you're doing it. The quality of the movement is going to be way more important than how much weight you're lifting, how many reps you're getting. So focus on those things and see if you can get that glute working a little bit harder, calves working a little bit less, and it's going to get you powering up those hills in no time.